Morpheus provides 32 voice polyphony for complex sequences or thick layering. Each of these 32 voices have its own 14-pole Z-plane filter, 2 LFOs, 3 envelope generators, and 2 multi-segment function generators to create complex control contours. Morpheus supplies 16-part multi-timbral capability for flexibility in sequencing. It includes 8 megabytes of newly sampled sounds, both acoustic sounds and waveforms, internally expandable to 16 megabytes. It also includes dual stereo effects processors and a seriously expanded version of our MIDI patch modulation system to take maximum advantage of Z-plane synthesis expressive capabilities. It includes a new hyper preset mode that allows you to stack or split up to 16 presets with velocity cross-switching, and it includes a memory card slot for the storage of presets, hyper presets, and MIDI maps. To help you get the most out of your Morpheus, we're lucky enough today to have the assistance of the Morphmeister himself, Mr. Jerry Basserman. Let's go check it out.
Yes! Wow! Fantastic new sound, isn't it? The Morpheus. From EMU? You know that. You bought one! Congratulations. It's a fantastic new device, and I want to show you a little, well, let's just say I want to show you some of the finer points of harnessing the new power you've got. You've probably already connected it, plugged the power in, connected the outputs, plugged the MIDI in. It is a MIDI sound module. Let's show you the back of this Morpheus because you may not know the intricacies of the separate outputs called sub 1 and sub 2. These 4 right here. Typically they can be used as separate outputs to send sounds to specific mixer inputs. You may want to do that. Or they can actually be used as send and return jacks for going to an effects module and coming back. Or, very few people know about this, you can actually use them as additional inputs for sounds. Say you have some sound modules and you don't have enough mixer inputs on your console, you can use these outputs as inputs. There's a concept. Plug the cable in till you hear that click right there. And now you're routing these sounds directly back to the main outputs, so you're actually augmenting your mixer inputs by 4 more. All right? Very powerful, little known feature of the Morpheus. Anyway, let's get into some of the more complex, sophisticated, and exciting features inside the device. All right, now there are some demo sequences on board the Morpheus to demonstrate the power and diversity of these filters, and I'm going to show you how to get to those. See the MIDI map and hyper buttons? Well, underneath that reads demo. You need to press both of these buttons at the same time and wait. And after a second or so, you see the demo screen, the cursor being immediately under number 1. If you want to select any of the others, use your cursor buttons to go to the right or to the left. And when you're done listening, simply hit enter, and you're back to your main screen. Now let's go to the main screen, probably the screen you'll spend most of your time on. It's right here, and it has quite a bit of information on it. The first column is C01. This is the MIDI channel. And you see the cursor flashing underneath the 0. Well, you just use the data encoder to choose the MIDI channel. First off, all Morpheuses are shipped in MIDI Omni mode, which means the Morpheus responds to any and all MIDI channels. However, if you switch it to poly mode, and I'll explain how to do that in the master menu very soon, then the Morpheus responds only to information, say, on channel 12, the displayed channel. Now, if you want to navigate around the screen, let's go back to channel 1. We hit the cursor button. Now you're over into the volume column. It says here, MIDI volume is set to 127. It's all the way turned up. You can turn it all the way down or anywhere in between down to 0 with the data encoder. Or you can send MIDI controller messages, that's MIDI controller number 7, from your sequencer or from a volume pedal, for example, and you'll see that change reflected right here. Now if we go over to the pan column, this is MIDI controller number 10, and The Morpheus responds immediately to either volume or pan. It's hardwired. And here it says pan equals P. What does that mean? Pan equals preset, which means in this position, you'll hear whatever this preset is programmed to be in stereo, have more sound on this side than that, or whatever. You can override that at the MIDI channel level simply by moving here to -7, which is all the way hard left, to any point in between, including 0, which is in fact center but mono, and then all the way to +7, which is hard right. And if you want to hear the presets the way they're programmed, you put it back to pan equals preset. Now finally, we get down to where the sounds reside, the presets and hyper presets. I'm going to describe what each of these banks are. First you see 0, 0, 0, and then a small superscript 0. This means bank 0, and there's 128 presets already in here. These are RAM presets, which means they are programmable, and you can save any edits or changes or original presets of your own to any of these locations. So if I keep going up now, you'll see it gets to 127, and now we move to the next bank. Again, 0001. This is the bank of ROM presets, read-only memory. They're factory presets, and you can play them, and you can change them, but you can't store the changes in this bank. There's a lot of sounds on board the Morpheus. I'm going to go up here to the next bank. The next bank, bank number 2, is what's called hyper presets, and I'm going to describe later in the video what these are. But here are 128 hyper presets, which are programmed at the factory, but in fact you can change them and save them back to the same locations because these are RAM locations. Okay, now 0003. This means that the data card has been inserted and it has information on it. That's bank number 3. And again, here are some RAM presets, another bank of 128. Maybe you want to back up your RAM banks in the unit onto the card, or perhaps you want to access even more sounds. And then we get to 0004. Again, on the card, this is the last bank, and this allows you on the card to have 128 hyper preset locations, again, that you can write to. So you go all the way up to the top, and basically, if you have the card in, this gives you access to 640 sounds on board at one time, which is pretty amazing. Now, maybe you think that my arm's about to fall off and turn into this dial. It is a lot of programs to dial through, but EMU has included 2 little techniques that are going to make it easy for you to get around. First of all, it's acceleration controlled, which means if I go slow, it moves to just a near location. But if I whip it fast, it goes faster, till finally I really zip it, goes all the way back down to the bottom, or all the way to the top. So depending on how fast you twirl the knob, you can get further or not so far. A really convenient way to actually move in blocks of banks, that is 128 at a time, is to hold the enter button down. Now watch this. I'm going to select the first bank, preset 8. Then I'm going to hold enter down. Now I can skip through 128 later to the ROM bank, etc., to the hyper presets. So by holding the enter down, you skip through the banks just with one turn of the dial. And it makes it a lot easier to navigate between all these presets that are on board. Fantastic.